Hello everyone and welcome back to Millicraft and welcome back to the Gray Box. In today's episode we are going to be focusing on Halloween and doing some very simple decorating for the holiday. 10 of my favorite, very quick, very easy decorative ideas that you can put into your world pretty simply, pretty quick. You could even tear them down after the holiday, but let's get started on some of my favorites and some brand new ones that I cooked up this holiday season. Let's get started. For our very first Halloween build, we're gonna do something with trees, custom trees to be specific, but these are more decorative, and we're gonna make candy corn trees. So you're gonna need some kind of fence post, and you're gonna need these 3 colors of wool. Now you could switch this up and make it some other kind of candy corn thing, but I really enjoy this particular kind of build. It's very simple, very easy. You just put 1, 2, 3 posts, do the 4 posts around, have an additional 1 or 2. Actually, I think we're probably gonna need 2. And then you're gonna put the wool on top. You can actually do this with the powdered concrete too, if you like that color instead. I'm gonna do 2 rows of the orange, 2 rows of the white, and then we're gonna just put a little topper right there, and there's your candy corn tree. You can also do a very quick, like 1, 2, 3 with those same colors, and just kind of pepper them around your area to give it just kind of a festive look. Another very cute and small kind of tree. We're going simple here, if you remember. We are going to do a autumn tree, and we're going to use some of the new blocks. So we're going to use these resin blocks as our starter, and let me put all of these around. So we're going to have 1, 2 fence posts here, and then we're going to make like 8 blocks around with these guys. We're going to also do some honeycomb blocks because I want to try something a little different with this. And then we are also going to put a little ochre frog light. If you don't have the frog lights and you're playing in survival, you can just use a pumpkin or something else. Now we're also going to make it a little weird. We're going to put some of these copper grates, and we're going to kind of just build it up to hide some of these other blocks and to make it a little more orange and give it a little more build around. And you can play around with this color combination. You can add all sorts of different copper. You can add the different kinds of glass, etc. And if we want to break this up a little bit, we can kind of make some of these other colors around instead of the resin blocks. But just as a very simple autumn tree, this is very, very simple. I've seen some really extravagant ones I kind of like, just sort of something like this. And if you want to add, to make it look like there's leaf debris around, you can put the other blocks down below and just kind of spread it out there. And if you want to add a little bit of extra something to kind of tie this together, go into your natural blocks and pick out your leaf litter, and that's going to tie everything kind of together on the ground up underneath this little tiny autumn tree. Now for our third decoration idea, we're going to branch out and build a giant pumpkin. I love these giant pumpkin designs, and we're just going to kind of put in a 9 by 9, so just a 9 square, just like this, and then we're gonna build it up so it's another 9. Now this is a very clunky pumpkin. This is one that you could just do at any point in time. I'm gonna put a jack-o'-lantern at top so it's actually lit up. If you want to make sure that this lighting here, and you can see his stem is in a little different direction, stays lit at night, you can actually put a mangrove root over it for the stem. If you don't care whether it's lit up or not, I love the texture of a tropical tree trunk. And then you could always use these mangrove roots for the vine that comes off of it. And if you actually want it to be lit up and kind of hidden more, if you kind of come in here and put one in here, just like this, you can light it up without having to change the texture of this. And we'll come back to this pumpkin at the end of the, or closer to the end of the video, because I have some ideas to make it into a jack-o'-lantern instead of a giant pumpkin. For the next build, we're going to do something that I see in a lot of actual real-life Halloween builds around the US right now, and that's going to be a pumpkin arch. So we're going to do something a little unusual here, and we're going to build a arch using mangrove roots. And you can kind of, like, if you cut down a couple of mangrove trees or you go into a mangrove swamp, you're going to find tons and tons of these. So we're going to start out with just making just a very vague arch with mangrove roots. I'm going to kind of give it a little bit more shape by kind of putting it out like that. So if you have a split of between 4 or 5, you can kind of make this archy shape, and I'm also going to put in a couple extra little roots here and there just to kind of give it a little bit more depth. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come in with the pale oak leaves, because the pale oak leaves are kind of spooky looking, and they have a really nice texture. And then in the newest versions of Minecraft, we have the leaf effect that kind of falls from it from time to time. And make sure you do this on both sides of the tree. So as people pass through the arch, they're going to have plenty of these little, like, tree leaf effects. To add to that, we're going to put on some of this cool pale moss. And we're just going to kind of spread this out in around just a little bit like that to kind of give it this really cool look. Now, if you want it to have a crackly sound, so if you want to create some sound effects using these, you might want to sprinkle in some more of the leaves and more of the actual stems, so you can hide some of the stems in there. Now, once we have this set up, we need to actually put in some of our pumpkins for our pumpkin arch, so you can actually mix up, and I would mix it up a little bit. Put your jack-lanterns in here so you have some lighting. And we're going to kind of put these up in here too on both sides. Remember, don't forget to do it on both sides here. And then add in a few regular pumpkins here and there too. So we have a little bit of differences. And if you have a data pack that gives pumpkins, or you're using a mod that gives pumpkins different faces, this would be really cool around in your build somewhere. This could be a very good place to start, like a pumpkin patch or something like that. Now, let's add in a few additional things around this area to make it even more spooky. So I'm going to come in and we're going to add some of this silvery moss. Now, you could go with different kinds of debris and different kinds of, like, natural things like coarse dirt and podzol. So if we wanted to make our path a little warmer than the gray from this moss, you definitely can. Coarse dirt looks really good. You can put the path blocks through it. You can add all of these different things around. You can kind of put the leaves spread around, so we have all these dead leaf debris. You can even kind of put them on top of the pumpkins themselves. And then you can add some of the tall grass, some of the short grass. You can do all sorts of things with, like, the dead bushes around. Let's give that a little bit of extra color and texture in here. Let's even put some of our pale moss carpets, because what's cool about these is you can see that the pattern of it, we're gonna do it here too, will climb up the side depending on where it's located in the build. Oh, look at that. So that's going to give you even more of a spooky look and a spooky texture. Now, what we can also do to give it a little bit more life than just the falling trees is you can also plant around the different kinds of firefly bushes. And if you don't want the green, although the green looks really good in this build, I'm going to put a couple of them kind of hidden around here. I do like the green a lot, but we're also going to kind of put them down below the ground to make sure that we're getting that, like, sparkly effect above ground. So here you can kind of start to see it a little bit here and there. And then we need to cover it up with a little bit of the dirt so that it can activate, and look at the fireflies around there. Look at this pumpkin arch. Wouldn't you want to have something like this? And if you want green, you could definitely do green. I'm going in for more of a completely spooky vibe, especially if you made your Halloween area in like a pale forest or something. It would be really cool to be able to walk in and out of this area with all of the nice particle effects going, and it's plenty of light to really welcome your visitors. For our fifth decoration, we're going to go a little bit more simple, and we're going to go a little bit more in the ground, and we're going to kind of just break open a large area. This is going to be just sort of an area where you can put all sorts of like different decorative blocks and really fill out your area. So if you have an area that it's not very big, you don't have a lot going on, you can just sort of pepper around all of these different kinds of warm blocks and warm colors. If you want to put some path blocks in here, let's put some additional path blocks just to really give it that feel like this area has been tread on a lot. Then we can make stacks of things, such as our pumpkins, such as our jack-o'-lanterns. Let's just kind of pile that up there. It looks really good. We can kind of put some of this tall grass or the short grass, the dry grasses look really good with this kind of thing. We can also take on this side and we can put wheat, or these hay bales will be really nice and to go around this area. If you want to put dry grass in there too, we can put our leaf litter around, and we can add that on top of these blocks, which is really awesome. Now, you can't put leaf litter on top of leaves, but you can put it here on any of the stuff that we have lining the ground, so you can kind of blend the colors in that way really well. We can also put your little firefly bushes around, because again, that's going to give you a really cool color texture and give you a little bit of vibrancy in this area. Another color combination or a pathing block or something like that you can do if you've been into the Nether would be to add some of this soul soil. It's going to give you a really nice texture to this as well. And rooted dirt is another one that's very warm, gives you a little bit of a color difference. So you can use a mix of all of these colors in your area to give it just a little bit of life in a very empty area that you don't have any ideas for. Just having these little stacks of things around are really pretty cool. Now for idea number 6, you have some very big focus items to put in your Halloween area, but let's put some smaller items out. And one really cool one that I see built a lot is the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow with a lighted or unlighted jack-o'-lantern here. It looks really cool. You just need a fence post, some kind of block for its belly, and a lot of people like to use the hay bales because that's what traditionally scarecrows were built out of, was some kind of hay stuffed coat or something, and then the pumpkin for a face, since not a lot of blocks have faces. And then we're going to put some fence gates as arms. You could do fences as arms. They're going to be similar but different, so those are okay too. And then you can decorate your scarecrow to look all different and in different ways. One that I've found that a lot of people have been using lately is these decorative pots, because they kind of have a pointy shape. So if you come down and squat, look, you can give him like a baseball cap, or you can give him kind of like a straw cap, just like this, with putting trapdoors around. And he looks really, really cute. But let's not stop there. Let's do a couple of cool, very easy other kinds of scarecrow things to put in your yard as part of this. So let's take, again, another fence post, and then we're going to put a white block of wool on here, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a ghost decoration for your front yard. Now, I did a couple of tests, and this is the one that I like the best. So if you've been into the Nether and you have yourself a little dry ghast, his little particles are so absolutely adorable. He looks like a little angry ghost. You can also do a skeleton head on this. I will say with the skeleton faces, they're harder to get unless you've been to an ancient city or you have a trident. So those might be a little harder to get than an actual like dried ghast. But, you know, before you actually rehydrate this guy and have him floating around, you could use him as a spooky ghost for Halloween. If you want to go a little less spooky on your decorations, you could also make a jack-o'-lantern princess and use purples and pinks and an amethyst cluster on her head, and then you can have a girl scarecrow and a boy scarecrow out somewhere on your fields. Now, idea number 7, I also see in a lot of people's yards IRL, and that is to have a graveyard somewhere out in your yard. A few different ways you can do graveyards is you can create like little crosses with fence posts. So if you kind of go like this and you kind of go like that, you have kind of like a larger tombstone. If you want just a very small tombstone, you can just use walls like that and just have kind of an actual little tomb. You can make really old grave markers with just one, just a little piece of like a cobbled mossy wall or something along those lines. You can also do just a simple kind of cross just like that for your area. And I see people like mixing it up with all of the different stone types and any wall and different variants. Just having some of your polished stones will work really well for these. If you want to make them look like they are a fresh grave of some sort, you could go in and add your coarse dirt to it in front of it. This can hide, you can hide like chests and barrels underneath so people can dig up graves and try to see what is underneath these areas if they've been around for a while. You can use flowers and flower pots if it's more recent. What's nice about these too is you can actually put signs on them. So you can put a sign and go RIP, and then have those kind of up and around the area and put funny little catchphrases like we see on tombstones during Halloween. All right, for idea number 8, we're gonna make ourselves a little hay wagon. So we're gonna take and use oak trapdoors. Now you can actually use any trapdoor that you want that looks kind of like a wheel. I just like using the good old-fashioned oak for this, but feel free to use whatever color you want. So you're gonna have 2 trapdoors, usually about 2 or 3 away from each other, depending on how big you want them. And then we're gonna put half slabs to connect. And then depending on how wide you want your wagon, you're gonna space them out again, and then you're gonna place the trapdoors in the same area, so across from one another, and make them your wheels. So there's your wheels. Now we can also make a taller area for seating for your wagon up front if you want, and you can use half slabs or you could use stairs. And then we're gonna actually come out and give the cart something to pull. So I'm gonna use my spruce, but you can use any color that you want on those too. And then we're gonna pile on a whole bunch of wheat and other decorative things here. So we're gonna have our wheat thing, and you can actually stop there if you want, but you could also give it some sides to this wagon if you like. Now, I do recommend putting blocks in there first if you're going to do that, because it just makes it a little bit easier to navigate and like be able to put those trapdoors in. If you want to add some pumpkins, or you want to add like maybe a chest in there because they're taking off a whole bunch of stuff traveling with them, you absolutely can. It's a lot of fun to be able to put some things of different sizes on your wagon. But there you go, very, very simple autumn hay wagon. For idea number 9, we're gonna make ourselves a little pumpkin selling stall. So you're gonna need slabs, stairs, fences, maybe a trap door, and a couple different kinds of wool that's very colorful for the season. So we're gonna start off with an upside down stair, and we're just gonna kind of make a cute little booth, and it just needs to be 3 across there. And then we're gonna do back over here, so you give somebody a space to stand there. And then we're gonna come over here and add 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna give it kind of like a 2 space here, so actually it's 4, so it's 4 across, and then 3 back, and then we have a 4th here, 4th here, and we're gonna put another one there, and another one there. If you don't want to have all of them there, you can have give yourself like a little trap door so that people can get in and out of this booth. Then we're gonna put some fence posts in place to be able to hold the little roof. And then what I like doing is putting little half slabs around. So I'm gonna actually take this one out now. Give it a little bit of an awning, so if it happens to rain on that autumn day, somebody at the booth is covered up. So it's not going to attach yet, because we're going to actually attach it with the colored wool that I took. Now you can do this with concrete, you can do it with wood, whatever colors you like. I just like doing it with the wool types because they're just so pretty. And we're going to take that out, and then I'm just going to kind of make it just like this, so you get a lot of the Halloween-y colors. Now we can come in here with Happy Halloween or any other little signage or anything like that. Now you can fix up the flooring. You could put in chests. You can put in decorations around this thing. Let's put in a little chest for what they're selling. We're going to put in a couple little different pots. I'm going to put in some spooky looking flowers. We'll put our orange eye blossom in, and he'll probably close up because it's daytime, but we can put some spooky little flowers in. If you want to put in some additional pumpkin decorations, like you're actually selling stuff, or pumpkin pies or something along those lines, you can make this into whatever you want for this little stand. So for our second to last idea, we're going to do kind of a little bit of a prank idea that you can do around the server or around your own bases if you want to spookify an existing house. So I came over to our house tutorial where I went over roof types. That video still exists. If you want to know how I made these roofs, go ahead and you can watch how we built these. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this house into a monster house by putting some banners with patterns that make it look like it has very angry eyes and teeth. So I'm gonna kind of go in here, give it some fangs. We're gonna make it have an open mouth, and I'm gonna close this door real quick because we're gonna add another banner against that wall, and then we give it a very angry monster face. Rawr. And I have a few other banner patterns like that on some of these houses too. You can like get really fancy with it. So you can have like a red banner that has like the green dot in it, the white border, and then just black to make these like angry slashy eyebrows. You can even do it on houses that are like this, where it's kind of up on the roofline where the eyeballs are. I think that is very adorable, and it would make a really cute prank to prank somebody on a server with, and they find their house has become a monster house. Now, I also said we're going to come back to this guy, so here's another idea. You can also make your pumpkin decoration into those angry-looking pumpkins, too, by giving it just a few different banners. Now, this has a gradient from orange to red, has the little white like jiggy jags on the top and bottom, so a very easy one-piece mouse, so you don't have to have 2 pieces or 6 pieces. And these guys actually have the white diamond on a yellow background with a black dot and then the orange slash at the top. So if you want to take a look at all of these real quick and pause as you go through, you can see the actual instructions for each of these. And then inverted, then we have its mouth. Those are all the pieces that you'll need for that. The black banners with just the green. I wanted to make it really simple. As you can see, there's only 3 on each of these. black banners, the wife chief indented, the inverted chevron, the white chevron, and then the white base inverted. So very simple, like 1 or 2, or at max like 4 different kinds of banner patterns that you can create to make a very angry looking pumpkin, or you could actually make it look kind of sad and scared if you reverse them. Now for item 10 on the list, and that is a fall leaf pickup. So we're going to do a little bit of something very simple and very easy that you can also do in your world, just as a little area, like an area filler somewhere. And that is to take a few of these cool looking raw iron ore and raw copper, copper blocks. And if you put them in what looks like barrels, when you surround them with trap doors, you can kind of get a look like these are filled with leaf debris. So we have lots of leaves around, and you can kind of add to that effect by adding this leaf debris down in between and spreading it out and around. We can make sure that we change this out for podzol, which looks very much like leaf debris. And also some of your coarse dirt. You can add in all that soul soil and stuff we did in this one over here. You can also add that into your composter. You can also fill the composter up to give it that kind of look too, just like the podzol. If we add in some little dead bushes or something along those lines, it looks like you are in the middle of cleaning up the leaves. So if you had a autumn leaf tree that you built, or a very dead looking tree, you could kind of put this down here where someone was in the middle of collecting all of this up. You can put some additional lighting around just to kind of give it a little bit of extra look, like somebody was out after dark and they left their lantern there as they went to go pack up all their leaves after they've been cleaning up for the season. Now, for those of you who have stuck around with me this whole time, let's do a number 11. So let's do a bonus one. And this is one I absolutely love to do in an area I'm not sure what to do with. Like, I don't want to put a huge build out here. I don't want to do a lot, but we're going to stock up some stuff. Let's put out a bonfire. And you can actually do this with one campfire, or you can do it with a lot of them. So if you have one campfire just like this, you can easily do a whole bunch of coarse dirt around to make it look like somebody has been hanging out and enjoying a warm fire on a crisp autumn afternoon or evening. And then we can put in a couple of seats around, and I keep using, I keep going back to this acacia because it's orange, just like all of our oranges and purples, but you could use whatever colors that you want on this. If we want to put little signs out here, now in 1.21.9, you could actually use the shelves for these back. So let's do that. I just updated our server to the next version just so we can play around with these shelves and get them into place. And I love the sound of these things. And we can also change out the lanterns too, so that we have our new copper lanterns. Oh, look how spooky and awesome and green that is. And look how nice the shelves and these copper lanterns look. We can have the different colors of copper lanterns now around, just to give your area just a little bit more color and a little bit more detail. Look how cool that looks. I am so glad that they have given us new copper stuff, and these new shelves are so good. There's going to be so much we can do with these. We could even line up here with those. We could make a lot more decor there instead and plop that in there, and pumpkins for sale to just add it to your area and just to give it just that little bit much more detail with these new variants. I'm super excited to start playing with these more and seeing what other things I could do with these new blocks in 1.21.9. But you can start with something as simple as this, kind of just putting leaf litter around, maybe putting another stack of these barrels around. You can put a little bit of lighting around. Put in some of these dead bushes or the dry grass, which looks really gorgeous around here. And we'll put one in here too. So you can kind of decorate all of this. I have also seen, if you want to make this spookier, you could actually use a soul campfire instead of a regular campfire and use a whole bunch of the more spooky nether looking blocks. The crimsons and the warped will also look really good here. But if you want to make a really big campfire, you could also really lay it in and put a whole bunch of them around and really get it going. And make a very, very big bonfire. But I prefer just the little guy all by itself, quite honestly. But if you wanted to smoke a lot, don't forget, you can also come and grab one of these guys, the hay bale. So see how it's smoking just a little tiny bit? So if you want your area to stand out quite a bit, feel free to put a hay bale underneath it and look at how much more smoke and how far it rises. So if you want people to see your area that you've built for Halloween or for the autumn season from far away, do that and then people will know where to find it. So there you have it, everybody. I hope you enjoy these 10 or 11 different kinds of builds that you can put around your area during Halloween. Super easy. You don't need a whole lot of supplies to make these things, but you can put them around already existing builds that you have in your area just to make them a little bit spookier for this season. Make them a little bit more cozy and warm for autumn. And just decorate, and maybe you keep them around all year. Maybe they're going to be a static display, or maybe they're going to be something you just put up for a week or so and then take them down. These should all be very easy with things that you probably already have around your base and in your storage collection, or you can build them in creative like I just did. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much, all of the supporters that I have, all of the members to the channel. I know we have quite a few of you right now. I do hope you consider sticking around if you've had a gifted sub. I do make these gray box videos about once a month or so, and then I spend a lot of time in the Craftworks server too because I love playing with my friends. Like, don't get me wrong, I like building here too, but I get my best ideas when I'm around my friends and we're throwing ideas back and forth. So come and check it out if you haven't before. Love you all very, very much. Give yourselves a hug for me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Feel free to leave a comment, ring that notification bell. I've been struggling with views lately, so if you haven't been seeing my videos, that might be the reason. Hit that subscribe button. I post videos about once a week, not too much. I try not to be too crazy, so hopefully these ideas that I give you in these videos will give you ideas to build on your own. And let me know in the comments, have you put in these builds that I have suggested? Have you come up with your own? Drop them in the comments below. I'm sure other people would like to know what kinds of things you like. And Craftworks has a Discord. Now, I don't have my own Discord because of the fact that I actually own and operate the Craftworks Discord. So come on over, see the link in the description below, and join us and share your own builds. We have a channel for that specifically so that you can share where you used these ideas. I would love to see them in existing builds somewhere if you use any of these things. Happy Halloween, everybody, and I hope you enjoy, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye. I personally can't get over the happy gassed ghost because of how grumpy he is and his little smoky thing that comes off of him, and he looks like he's just very, very upset for being used as a Halloween decoration. And then this guy, he looks like the most scared pumpkin I have ever seen, and I love him so much, and he will probably appear somewhere in the server at some point.